Welcome to my podcast, episode 13. This is my fortnightly vlog on knitting, crochet, yarn dyeing, spinning, anything else that seems like a good idea at the time. You can find me on social media. On Instagram, I am Mel Browne Crafting Podcast. On Ravelry, I'm Funky40. We also have a Ravelry group for this podcast, which you can find by searching in the groups tab. And you can also find me on Instagram as Creative Escape Retreats. So, I've got lots to talk about today. You'll notice that my little kitty is back. Hey, so beautiful. Sorry, I woke her up to do that. That was very mean, wasn't it? It's not warm enough outside yet for her to be out there, so she's been bribed with a hot water bottle. Okay, so we've got Where Are They Now? We've got new whips on the block. We've got some knit group stuff, including our giveaway, first giveaway. Some yarn dyeing, some something new, and a little update on Creative Escape that I forgot to give you last time. We've got cats everywhere at the moment. Hello. This one typically likes to jump up here, knock everything off. So with any luck, come here. With any luck, oh dear, he's going to put his foot in my tea now. Oh God. Very hot tea would not be much fun for a cat. See, didn't want to hurt you. Sorry. Okay, so cats everywhere. Right, let's start with Where Are They Now? What happened to the, he's looking up there, what happened to the projects you saw last week? No, you can't go up there. Go over there. Right. What did happen? Memories and Garden Flowers. The two blankets, they're definitely in hibernation still. Probably will be until after Christmas, I would think now. Wisteria trellis now. This was having a nap, wasn't it? And I keep trying to wake it up, but it isn't really working. So I haven't achieved much. Last time I spoke to you, I said I was going to do one pattern repeat a day. Didn't quite manage that. So here's where I was when I spoke to you last, and here I am. So I've actually only done 3 pattern repeats. I am worried now that if I put it away now, it won't come out again till after the Christmas knitting's done, and by then I'll have forgotten what I was doing with it, and I don't know. I'd really want to avoid that happening, so I'd really want to get cracked on with it. So there's lots and lots of it, and I hand dyed the yarn for this myself, so I'm motivated. One of these days there'll actually be good enough light for you to see the colours in this, reddish, bluish, more bluish. Anyway, I do need to do some more on that, but I might just have to accept the fact that it'll have to go away. Okay, Rockin' Rose. Oh, do you know what? I didn't tell you, did I? I'm a silly sausage. This is Wisteria Trellis by Joanne Scrace. It's in the Shawl Project Book 4. Excuse me. I haven't been drinking much tea recently because of the heat wave. It's lovely to have a slightly cooler morning so I can enjoy a Cherry Bakewell green tea. Doesn't taste anything like Cherry Bakewell, but it is nice green tea. Okay, so that's Wisteria Trellis. Rockin' Rose by Martina Baim. It's a really lovely pattern. Just wish I could lay my hands on it right now. Oh, no. Ah, here it is. Right, okay, so you know when you get to that point in a project where you've finished increasing, and you know that each row is not going to get any bigger now, and then you get to that bit where you start decreasing. I'm at that, and I'm loving it. So let's have a look. Here's the full extent of it. We were up to here when I spoke to you last, and I'm now up to here. So you can see the way the shaping has gone. That's all new shaping, and it's stretching out at this side. It's such an elegant, beautiful pattern, it really is. So I'm on section 5 of 6 now. So yeah, not far to go. I'm starting to get to where I think I might be able to smell the end, and then it'll be all focused on this until it's done. This is for mum-in-law for Christmas, so there's no rush with it, but I just really love it. I love the way these colours look. Everybody compliments me on these colours, which you probably, if you've watched this before, will know that's unusual for me because I'm not really very good at choosing colours. But yeah, it's just so elegant, and it's got this kind of, I don't know, Art Deco look. Is that right? I love it. So that's coming on really well. Really pleased with progress on that. Right, there's a couple of things I forgot to say last time. Oh, you know when you've got interchangeables and you've got a little gap and you try to push your stitches back and you can't because one of them falls into the gap. So you have to pull them out, tighten it up. That. Right. Okay, what was I talking about? The Tunisian hat. You know, I was making a hat with Tunisian crochet with a double-ended crochet hook called Anne. Well, I forgot to tell you last week, if you were puzzling, 2 times ago I'd showed you it and it wasn't big enough for my head, and I'd changed the pattern, what stitches I was doing, and didn't like it and changed back. Last time I showed it to you, it fitted me, and if you might have been paying attention and thought, how does that work? Well, I'll tell you. I frogged it. I forgot to tell you. So after the podcast for last, this is 13, but after podcast 11, I thought there's no point in making a hat that doesn't fit me. So I frogged it and I started again with 80 stitches, and it did fit me then. So here it is. The hat is finished. One thing I regret doing is I'm a maths person, and the podcast, the YouTube video I was following to do this was saying just kind of like eyeball the 6 decreases. Well, you know, I had 80 stitches. I could easily divided that and worked it out myself, but I didn't. I eyeballed it and didn't work out terribly well. I don't think that's very even, but you know, I'm not going to worry about that too much. So I like the way the decreases kind of slot on each other, and it does fit, but it's not finished because I wanted to do a rib. I mentioned this last time, I think. So I want to do a rib along here, but I'd literally run right out of the blue yarn, the navy blue, which is the kind of background. I'd run completely out of it. So my friend Linda, who you hear a lot about, gave me this, which is, it's a kind of, no, I don't think you're going to get that. I would say it's kind of a really dark blue with some kind of heathered bits of of other colours in it, which I think matches perfectly with this. The thing is, this is 4-ply, this is double knit, and I am doing it in the round, so I need to have 2 double knit balls running, which is each 2 4-ply. So I need to wind this into 4 balls so that I can run 2 for the start of it and 2 for the end of it. You know, it chases itself round with Tunisian crochet. Well, that's cool. So I need to wind that, so that's why I haven't done it yet. And the other reason I haven't done it yet is that Anne went on a bit of an adventure. I finished off the hat at my mum-in-law's nearly 2 weekends ago, and I left it there. I don't know how I managed to leave him there. He went on a little adventure. I couldn't find him, so I texted my mum-in-law and she said, yep, got him here. And hubby picked him up a few days later because she lives down south. So he's had an adventure and he's back, and now I do want to finish that hat off. I will probably have that done for next time. I'm just going to do probably a knit 1, purl 1, Tunisian crochet rib. Yes, lovely. Right, that's good. Now I was also, I was supposed to be kind of showing you the yarn as well, but it's all just random stuff from my stash. No, I don't even know what it is. It's old. I keep forgetting to tell you things like that, don't I? If I know the information, it's on my project. So if you find me as Funky 40 on Ravelry, then you can have a look and find out what they are. But I do try and remember to tell you. Right. Yes, I was making a pair of socks for Linda, my design partner. We do Opus knitting patterns together. And I have actually finished them. I beat her to it, funnily enough. I was test knitting her pattern and I beat her to it. So she hasn't published them yet. But so I have finished them. I'm not going to give you much of a close-up. These are for my hubby, so they're nice and big, with a little rib on the top. So they're very pretty. This is Undercover Otter yarn, which I showed you the ball band of last time, and I'll do a proper show when she's published the pattern, which will be in 2 weeks' time. So there they are, great big socks. Hubby loves this colour, they're his company colours. There's a sort of emblem which is this colour, so he loves the bright pink. He chose this is the yarn from Stephen and Penelope's shop in Amsterdam. So they're all done, and I'll talk more about them probably next time. It's going to be Opus, I can't remember the number, 7502 or something like that. Okay, so that's all the projects that you've seen before. New whips on the block. So I had a bit of a chat. You know, last time I'd said to ask people to put comments on, and one of the ladies who put comments on, Sarah, we were chatting about possible other Tunisian crochet projects, because I wasn't sure that the wingspan that I'd done was particularly wearable. And we had a chat, and I had the idea through that chat, maybe it was her idea, can't remember, to try a hitchhiker Tunisian crochet version of a hitchhiker. So I did. So what I was really looking for was something which would allow me to kind of make a sampler of different Tunisian crochet stitches, so that I could, when I'm teaching that course, people can start a project and make something, but also get the opportunity to try lots of different stitches. So I dragged up some Weird and Wonderful yarn from my stash, and I got out my Tunisian crochet stitch books. I got these two, I showed you these last time. Oops. These two. And I started on a project. So I can't officially say it's hitchhiker, because hitchhiker is actually a paid for pattern now, which it didn't used to be, but it is now. So it starts at the bottom, and I've just got, I should have run in more of these ends. I've just got the sort of little 6 little ones at the bottom that are all Tunisian simple stitch. And then I've gone through a whole range of different stitches. Some of them longer than others, some of them shorter, some of them denser, some of them more open. I've put a little tooth on, so I've cast off a few at the beginning, and I've been generally increasing at this end. So it's very, very loosely based on that hitchhiker style. And then I've just basically had lots of fun with lots of different patterns. And I'm still on with it now. You can see with being Tunisian that you've got all the stitches on there at once. And then on your turn pass, you can't take them all off back down to 1. So that's where it is at the moment. I think it's maybe half as long as it wants to be. Don't know. But I'm really enjoying it, so I'll just keep going with it. And I think it's going to be, unlike the wingspan that I showed you last time, that's very set, kind of this is the pattern, and you just put in, you know, give people a variety of different stitch patterns to try. This one will be just basically completely experimental for people who don't like to stick to rules. So trying an extended stitch sometimes, and this panel is much bigger than some of the lower ones, and it's not going to be uniform. The increases come a bit strange as well, because sometimes the stitches just don't look the same when they're extended. So it's all a bit of a mishmash, but I'm quite enjoying it, and I think it's another option to offer people if I'm teaching Tunisian crochet. So I'm going to make a pattern for that. I'm going to call it Opus 42. Anybody who knows Douglas Adams and Hitchhiker's Guide will know why. All of our patterns are called Opus and then a number, and that one happens to be free. So I will publish that at some point when I can get poor long-suffering Linda to test make it for me. I've ordered her some Tunisian crochet hooks. So that's a new whip on the block. What else? Ooh, Skew. There's a pattern for socks called Skew by Lana Holden. I first knit this years ago for a knit along in our knit group, and I fell in love with it. And did you hear my husband sneeze? Sorry. I haven't since then knit lots, and you will have seen and heard me talk about it if you're a previous viewer. And I'm fascinated by the pattern. I'm going to show you a little bit about this project now, and then I've just recorded a little thing to insert here telling you pretty much my favourite part of the pattern. So I'm using Knitting Goddess yarn. It's the usual 75% superwash wool, 25% nylon. It's 45% British Blue Faced Leicester, the colourway is Lizard. And I got that from the Wensleydale Long Wool shop right, so here it is. Isn't it gorgeous? I'll put this insert of the video here about the really amazing part, the origami moment part of the pattern. I'm just trying to record a little segment for you, but somebody came to play, and yeah, there she is. So I'm showing you skew, which is a sock knit on the bias, I guess you'd say. So here's the toe, but this is where the big toe goes, and then the rest of the toes go along here, and then the foot comes up like this. So you can see that we're all on a slant, and that's all achieved with increases and decreases, which are at the end of the row, quite convenient. And then you see we start to increase around these two markers, so it's very easy to see where they are. And then there's a little marker here which we decrease around. Now, as you can see, it's just a tube at the moment. There's no short rows, there's no heel flaps or anything. What I particularly wanted to show you today was the really exciting part, which is the origami moment. So there's 15 stitches here, and there's 15 stitches there. And I'm going to graft them together with Kitchener stitch. And this is what the designer Lana calls the origami moment. So I'm going to do that now and come straight back to you. And here it is. So there's my Kitchener 15 stitches, with yarn hanging off either end. And I've rearranged the stitches, and suddenly there's a heel. So this is my sock, my foot goes in here, and my heel there. So there's no heel turn, there's no heel flap, no nothing. That is the origami moment. Right, so here it is. Looking at it in the skein, it's quite difficult to spot whether the repeat is long enough for what I needed, because with skew you really need it to be very obvious that the stripes are not straight, very obvious where your knit lines were. For example, if you did this all in one solid colour, you might as well not bother with it, because you can't see the fact that the lines go crossways. And crucially with the heel, there's a kind of there's a part in the heel which you'll see better when I've actually finished knitting it, but it's all just, the lines are so beautiful, and I'm not showing it very well here, apologies. I like the way it's pooled. So for a while it's really dark here, and then it goes really light, and yeah, I like the way it's pooled. And because you're up to a point, you're increasing, then you stay at a constant level to here, and then when you start increasing for these bits I showed you here, you're increasing all the time, increasing your stitch count, so the way it pulls changes all the time. So it's a really fascinating way to work with. But if the stitch count on the round becomes too long, then you end up with what I would call clown bath, where it's just kind of random bits and bats all over the place, and you lose the pattern completely. So very, very happy with the way this yarn has worked out, and I'm now on the ankle, so we'll carry on up a little while, and then we'll do short rows, and then we'll do a little rib. This is the only pattern I do one at a time, because I have absolutely no trouble with second sock syndrome with this pattern. Once I've knit it once, I want to knit it another 10 times, so I have no problems. So there it is. It's a free pattern, obviously, because otherwise I wouldn't be giving you all that information, would I? If you've never knit one, if you thought, don't like socks because I don't like the heel flap, I don't like doing all that messing about with short rows to make a heel, have a go at this, because there's short rows at the top just to bring the skew back up to flat, but there's nothing like that for the heel, and it is an absolutely amazing pattern. So, have I told you how much I love it? Right, okay, one more new whip on the block, which is Chevron Shenanigans. Been talking about this for a while because me and my friend in New England, Kathy, she is has suggested this, and I went to the Cone Exchange, a second-hand shop specialising in craft materials in Harrogate, and I bought lots and lots and lots of weird yarn where I had no idea what the fibre was. Well, this week we actually started it. So it's Chevron Shenanigans by Stephen West. You might have heard of him. Where is it? That's it. So I've got 4 different yarns for it, and I've got an order I want to apply them in. Now, if you have not knitted a Stephen West pattern before, which I hadn't, you might not be aware, but he is very flamboyant in nature, as you'll see if you've ever seen him, but also his patterns are very flamboyant, and he does things in a very amazing way. So right from the start, I was doing things I'd not done before, which is fab. The problem came, you do it in wedges, and I'd got to partway through wedge 2 and my stitch count was off, and I thought, oh, I'll just blag it, get another 4, 6 rows. Couldn't rectify it and realised it was basically all messed up, so I tinked back those rows, just couldn't get it back on track at all, so I frogged it and started again. The second time around it was a lot easier because I knew much more what I was doing, and I'm fine with it now. So, which is the right side there. You're now spotting a bit of a theme again with my colours. So I can't tell you what this yarn is, who made it, or even what the fibre is, because it's a mystery yarn, but here it is. It's fairly soft. It smells, I don't know, I don't think it smells sheepy. I could do the burning test thing, but I thought, what does it really matter? It's for me. I like it. So you can see the beginning of the pattern with an I-cord edge. It's lovely. It's fun. It is definitely, I need to concentrate on it. I can't just sit and knit. I've got to concentrate on it. And every time I finish a row, I do a row count. Well, it's done in pairs, so every pair of rows I do a row stitch count, sorry, to make sure that I have got it right, so I can only have to tink back 1 row. And it's, as with most Stephen West projects, massive, so I suspect it's going to take me a long time, but I don't mind. I'm really enjoying it. It just feels like one of those things, you know, like a bucket list thing, you know, you've got to do. I feel like I've got to do a Stephen West project at some point. I will probably do more, but this is the start. This is my panda mug. Have you seen it before? Or if you've watched, you would have done. My children gave it to me. Oh. Right. So this has started something, which I'll come back to in a bit. So my whip count at the moment is 8. It's higher than it's been for quite a while, but I don't normally have things in hibernation, so effectively it's 6 if I didn't have hibernation things. So that's much more like my normal thing. So you might notice I've swung back from massively crochet to largely knitting. It's very strange. This is in my little baggie. Right, okay, so that's all the new whips on the block and whip count. Yarn dyeing. So I was watching a Little Drops of Wonderful podcast with Ali, and she inspired me hugely. She'd got this skein of yarn that she didn't like the colour of, and she over dyed it in blue, and it came out absolutely beautiful. And I thought, right, that's it. That skein of yarn that I dyed a month or 2 ago that I don't like, I'm going to over dye it blue. And I was all inspired, and then I got it out to show a friend of mine, and she said, oh, that looks really nice as it is. I really like that as it is. It's kind of these colours actually, it's green and red. So I had a crisis and thought, if it is, I don't like it, but if other people like it, I could give it away. And if I over dye it and mess it up, it'll have to, you know. So I didn't do it. I was inspired, but then I came back from the edge and I didn't do it. So what I did do instead was I dyed my last skein of sock yarn. So I bought a bundle of 5 skeins. My youngest daughter had bought one of them from me, and I think Doll Belly had one of them from me,
and so I'd had 3 left. Let me think. One of them was from that wisteria trellis. Another one I don't know. Anyway, so I had one left. So I dyed it, and I had bought. Oh, let me just give you a few pictures of the dyeing thing. So I had bought all 20 Wilton's colours because I had run out of blue and I was going to overdye with blue. And then of course I didn't. Anyway, what I ended up with, as you can see, is this. So I'm just fascinated by the fact that I've got 20 colours to go at and I still end up with, do you recognise this kind of red and blue thing? It's exactly like everything else I've ever dyed. It's red and blue. I'm going to have to branch out a bit, aren't I? Let's just uncurl it a little so you can see. So there's a base of pink. I dyed the whole lot in pink, and then while it was still in the dye bath and all the pink had gone, I poured a little cup of teal in one edge and a little cup of royal blue in another. So you can see there are bits where the blue and the red have interacted, and there are bits where it's just almost straight blue onto the white and then stronger red. So I don't know what it'll look like in the sock or in the shawl. I don't know. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with it yet. To be honest, it's not my, if I look at stuff like this in a shop, it's not my favourite thing to buy. I like stripes, or I like different stuff, but you know, I'm happy to have made it. It'll do. I will almost certainly make something out of it. Not very good at that, am I? But there it is. So, knobbly skein of yarn. Right. What's next? Knit group. The giveaway. Yay! I've been so excited about the giveaway. So, this is what we have up for grabs. It is Biff Sugar Yarns, and it's standard sock yarn, 75/25 superwash merino. It's teal, it's a dark teal, and it's called Lalva. And I have already made a pair of socks with a friend of this in a different colourway. So, 12 people commented. Thank you. I really enjoyed that. Got some really good conversation going. And I did a random number generator of that, and it came up with Sarah Gamston. So, Sarah, I think you're fairly local. We've had quite a few chats through YouTube already. So, basically, Sarah, it is yours. So, if you can PM me on Ravelry or email me, or anything else really, and give me your postal address, I will send it out to you. Fabulous. Really excited about that. The knit along, so knit group, virtual knit group still going. If you're out or in knitting on a Wednesday afternoon, do please post on Instagram with the hashtag virtual knit group. And the Bird of Fire knit along is still going. We've got another 3 or 4 people still to finish. If you want to join in with that, that's Bird of Fire pattern by Sarah Wilcox, then please do. But we have started a new knit along. For me, a quorum for a knit along is 3. So my friend in New England, Kathy, and I decided to knit chevron shenanigans together. And talking about it at knit group, Amy decided she wanted to knit a Stephen West pattern as well. So 3 is achieved. We're doing a Westalong. So any Stephen West pattern you want, get started anytime you like. In August will be good. And if we get a few takers, I'll find a prize. But otherwise it will just be for fun. So I'll put a thread in the group and the Ravelry group, and come along and say hello, say what you're thinking. Both of bickies, all that kind of stuff, and we'll have a chat. So, second knit along. Right, spinning. I had intended to try and find a spot in the day for spinning, and I had started with 11 a.m. but it didn't work. I'm too involved in something at that time, and I know I'm going to have to break at lunchtime anyway, so breaking at 11 just doesn't work for me. So I think I'm going to leave it till the kids go back to school. My work pattern is changing anyway, so I think it'll be easier for me to set aside a period for it. So I will be doing that. Something new. Christmas knitting is looming, and I've got patterns. I've got 3 patterns for my littlest, 1 for my middle, 1 for my eldest. Excuse me, hubby. Got a hat for hubby. And I've just went out and bought some yarn this week from Yarn Etc., my favourite yarn shop in Harrogate. So this is just a very basic hat yarn, cotton and acrylic. The pattern calls for cotton, but that's what they had, was the closest to what I wanted. And for my daughter, a crocheted crop top thing, and I got a couple of balls of that. So very simple, very basic stuff. And I've pretty much got the yarn for the other things I want to make, so I can make a start on those. It's our family holiday. All together we're going to Whitby, which is on the north, in the north on the east coast, for those of you not from around here. We're going for a week in 18th of August, so it's not long because it's now the 3rd, I think. So that's typically when I start my Christmas knitting, so I really do need to get some of these projects kind of moved along. I could do with finishing Rockin' Rose because that's mum-in-law's, and mum-in-law's on holiday with us, so I can't take that. So I could do with finishing that and the Tunisian hat by then, so I can start on some Christmas knitting. So that's something new. Oh yes, there's one other thing. One other thing I do is I run Creative Escape, which is organising knitting and crochet retreats here in North Yorkshire. Just started the business, our first retreats in November. I had some news. The venue we're using, I thought, had full disabled access, but it turns out that the dining area and the workroom we would have and all that area is disabled access, and there are walk-in showers and things, but none of the bedroom doors are actually big enough to get a wheelchair through. So nobody who is a wheelchair user would be able to come on their own. I hadn't understood this and I was a bit disappointed. But after a very busy few days of ringing around and emailing and Googling, I have found a venue with full disabled access, and it's got a spa as well. So I intend to book a retreat for that very soon. The financial commitments, I can lose my deposit if I don't get bookings, so I've got to wait until we're a bit busier. But so watch this space, there will be a full disabled access retreat coming soon. Right, I think I have done everything. Thank you very much for watching, whether you're new or long suffering. If you've got this far through, I'm very impressed. I will be back in 2 weeks' time with a bit more, hopefully finished off, and Christmas. Oh no, let me think. It was the 3rd, 17th, so just before we go, won't it? Oh, I was meant to record this yesterday, wasn't I? So it'll be just under 2 weeks, just before we go on holiday. So I'll be excited and ready. Oh, did you notice the pink hair? Forgot to mention that as well. I do forget to mention most things, don't I? Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If there's anything I've talked about that you're interested in hearing more about, down below there's a click. You can click on a link and it will take you to the Ravelry group page, and there's a thread there with all of the links to all the patterns and the people I've mentioned, so you can go and have a look further there, and also just make a comment down below or on the Ravelry group. Get involved, have a chat. If you've enjoyed the video, please click the thumbs up, and if you want to see more, then do subscribe. And I hope I will see you in a couple of weeks. Thank you. Bye.